Okay, Snake. I'm doing a video on this one instead of a text one like I usually do. This is my second video I'm doing today. This is the first time I'm doing videos for analysis. So if you have feedback on what I say or if I need to clarify stuff, definitely let me know. Um, but yeah, let's get into this game and see how you do. I like how there's some friendly banter here. Or not banter, but you know, some friendly chat. Everyone being friendly. Speed up a little bit. Okay, so you go vehicle. Um, so I would say right away, you might want to put an LLT here. Obviously that sets you back slightly, but this is far enough away that you might want to consider it. Just because 2 mechs is kind of important, and you don't want to have to really walk over there again to grab them if it does get harassed. That's probably precisely why Blue is putting a couple of rascals here to defend them. You also don't have radar yet. That's not a huge deal, but uh, you know, something to consider because ticks can run by around this time. Uh, this LLT you could probably postpone a little bit and get the solar first and the constructor first. You really don't need it in this area until your commander moves out, especially when when you need to go solar because if you go winds, then the winds blocks it blocks the fire from the turret. So if it was winds, you might need the turret a little sooner, like you have it. But yeah, you add on another solar. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded if you also crank this guy out real quick, even before that next solar, because then this guy can build the solar for you while your commander goes forward. Let's see, this concert, it feels a little bit early, but you can get away with it right now, so it's fine. Personally, I like to get more construction vehicles earlier on, just because like nothing is. It takes time for this to get produced, especially since you don't quite have the energy for it. So you end up cranking out another solar, which, by the way, this solar, if placed here, this is more like, it's up to you what you want to do, but um, solars have a bit more hit points than other things. Like, for example, the solar has 340, the mechs has 189, and this radar only has 90. So anything coming in from the fronts, the solar here would protect the projectiles that potentially want to kill the mechs and stuff. This LLT, I like the position of this LLT just because it's so close to your base that this area is kind of protected by the rally, and so you don't have to worry about this back zone as much. But then you can press it forward so that it's harder for them to reach it head on. So that's nice. But yeah, I feel like this is a little bit early for the construction turret because of your energy situation. Couple incisors. Yeah. A little bit of idle time here. In smaller team games, it's very important to have longer queues so that you have time to micro and do stuff. Obviously you're moving the rovers around, and so it gets a little bit hard to do stuff at home, but yeah, it'd be helpful if that was queued up a bit. Blue handles the incisors. You handle these guys on top. Nicely done. And you start pushing forward, and then you also got a guy going and grabbing some backside mechs type stuff. So that's nice. But yeah, if you had constructors instead, then you can move them around to assist various things that you need. Like, you could potentially have another guy doing mechs already, but obviously that'll set your unit count back just a little bit. This radar position I like. I mean, obviously you need a forward position. You got one back here. You could have actually put it a little bit closer to back here, but obviously, you know, sometimes I forget. I don't know if you forgot or not, but you know, I'll forget to put it back here, then I'll end up putting it forward like you did. Just because it's, you know, the rocks here block the vision, you know, and then at the same time it's a little bit less defended. Very minor, but you know. So you have a beamer queued up here. Must be from that guy. Yeah, in this position, well, actually, you do have radar to see this. I would actually put another radar over here just to extend that vision, and then you can see like how many guys he has potentially coming in. And so this sentry could actually be pushed up here to guard this location better, and then it would also guard this mech sooner. You do a little nice run by back here. Yeah, it's a little bit rough because they're all in range. You're gonna lose that guy. Yeah. Okay, so here, let's see. Do you have? Okay, so you don't. I mean, I see radar lines here. I don't know if you see them in the game. Yeah, I feel like usually I would see the radar lines in this situation. So it's kind of odd that I don't. And I wonder if that's because your settings don't show it, or if it's just the map is, you know, makes it so it's hard to see, or what. But I have my radar stuff cranked up, so that it gets a little hard to see. But the LLT one, where is it? Enemy defenses? Where is that? Defense ranges. Yeah, so this one's definitely turned on for me. And that just helps with this LLT placement, because I feel like in your position I would normally see, you know, like I can sort of see the circle here, but if it's not as apparent for you, then you might want to turn it up or whatever, because this LLT will definitely not be going up. Why isn't he placing it? That's a little strange. Not sure about that one, but yeah, obviously it's within their LLT range. Oh, okay, so this here, so I actually already did a video on this, and then I realized that I wasn't recording, so I screwed it up. So I know about this already, but basically I saw that your blitzes were coming down and then trying to loop back up with the grunts already there. I think you were trying to pick off some of these buildings. But I think instead it might be a better play, since the grunts are like right hot on your tail. It might be a better to try to get some of the mexes down here and kill those off. Because you know, sometimes players leave mexes unattended by a turret. You know, obviously red has these exploiters here, so you wouldn't actually be able to do much down here. You could maybe get this one, but the two incisors that you have left over here at this time aren't really going to do damage to any of this, just because solars can absorb so much more fire. Oh, okay, so now you definitely know about the turret. Yeah. So yeah, once you run into it, you make a wall. It's nice. Okay, so you got a beamer up here to protect these mexes in the back. Bit of idle stuff going on again, but looks like they're not idle for terribly long. Yeah, in this kind of position, I mean, I guess I don't mind your units being up here. You have a bit of potential to try to do another run by with these, but obviously doing that too much will make it so you just don't have units anymore. But yeah, since you have this location kind of under control, you might be able to push your beamer or put another tower up here. Might be useful. Just because this is kind of like the area that you're supposed to defend. That engagement didn't look quite that good at first, but you made up for it. Basically, you had like a line of guys. Actually, let me see if I can draw this. Okay, so you had your incisors in a line like this, and they were moving in this direction. And yellow's units were like basically like this, moving in this direction. And so you have just a couple of guys firing while he has a bunch of guys firing at once. So micro-wise, I mean, you might know this already, but I thought I'd, in case you don't, I'll point this out. Um, it's basically he's going to be able to have more units firing on just a few units of yours and pick these off quickly and then move on to the next units on the line, the next units and the next units. And so that kind of thing is a little scary. It's definitely not ideal. But obviously preventing the run by is more important. So it's, it's okay that you did it like that. I'm just saying that it's less efficient. But then you moved your units around a little bit and made it a little bit more efficient. That's how it worked out. Let's see, eco-wise, let's take a look at this. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you just need more build power at this time, so you're adding on con turrets and con vehicles. I actually wouldn't mind if you put more turrets up. Just to like kind of anchor this location down so that they can't push through. I mean, at this time, I don't know if you're going, I'm not sure if you know that he has vehicle. I mean, I guess, okay, you just saw Janus over here, so I guess you do know he's going vehicle. I mean, so I guess, yeah, having a lot of turrets isn't necessarily ideal either, just because you can arty them so easily. So I guess I don't mind that too much. But yeah, your resources are pretty high at this point. Yeah, and actually, when your energy like is feeling pretty okay, and you have some metal, you might want to consider doing advanced solar instead, just because they are more metal efficient. I mean, they are a bigger build, so you want to have more build power on them if you're trying to do it that way. But I mean, I think it's definitely a big benefit once they are up. But yeah, it takes a minute for it to, it takes a minute for it to build, so it does slow you down in the meantime. It's a little rough. Okay, so you are grabbing mexes here. Obviously, red has, some turrets and stuff in the middle here, which I feel like could be a little bit more contested. Obviously, that's a little bit more on blue, but at the same time, since it is poking out like this, like the front line is basically like this, or actually it's more like that. So you got this whole area here that is sticking out and relatively undefended, so that it might be an opportunity for you to do somewhat of a joint strike on this location if you have the time. Obviously you're fighting yellow most of it, and that's should be your priority, but I'm just pointing that out. Oof. Yeah, these two. Yeah, Januses do so much damage. Gotta be careful. Okay, you're trying to secure the metal. I can't blame you for that, but yeah, the Januses are just so strong. So you got an Artie. Yeah, now your energy's faltering. So it's going to be hard to get an A-Solar now, just because it is lower, and you need the energy to build the A-Solar. Yeah, part of it too is like these construction turrets do take quite a bit of power, I think. Yeah, 3200. Advanced solar is 5000. So both of them are quite heavy on energy. And I mean, your metal definitely, you can definitely afford more build power with your metal, but you might want to put more guys on energy first. Um, you know, and then once your energy is at a good spot, like it's pretty high, then you can think about A-solars to maximize your metal being put into it. This lab, I know a lot of people do this, and it's quite nice to have a forward lab. Personally, I think the forward lab could be put back a little bit, but also in this particular case, you don't really have the energy for it. And that's kind of a thing about CCR is there's just so much metal, and each metal is like, you know, it's a lot of metal. It's 2.3, which is above average for sure. And so it's just harder to get the energy. So just, you know, knowing that it's CCR, you might want to just think about having more guys on, or, you know, plan to have more guys on energy production. And then it'll be easier to support this and get this up and stuff. Because yeah, your energy is low enough right now with your, you know, you got, pause, please pause. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, your energy dips quite low because you had the construction of a turret, plus these guys producing units, you know, plus your commander producing the lab, you know, and labs are not terribly cheap on energy either. I mean, they're fairly cheap, but you know, they do cost energy. You know, so it just sets you back a bit. But yeah, once it starts redlining like that, you should definitely see that and say like, oh, I need more guys on solar now. Because that, I think, is probably the biggest issue you have in this game. It's just you don't have as many units because of that. And so his arties are able to shell, your arties can't do too much because they're unsupported. And then you're also dealing with this run by. Meanwhile, red also has a run by down here, so that's kind of rough. Looks like blue's deciding to charge in here instead. Unfortunately, this area has quite a few turrets in it, and so they might get, you know, some stuff done, but it's going to be kind of hard for this few, you know, just for 6 incisors to really plow through here. You know, meanwhile, all of red's incisors, he has 15, and this is relatively undefended. You know, so this is basically just a gap in the defense. So you got a nice beamer up here, but having another beamer or, you know, some LLTs down here would actually be nice too, so that blue doesn't have to worry about this kind of thing as much. But yeah, this also points to the fact that red had that nice like location in that point here, and he's able to just like run units through there while this is relatively undefended. Another thing you can do that I like to do personally, I like to do walls. And so I don't know if I mentioned this in this video, but you know, if you had secured this location up here when you had your tanks up here and push your beamer forward, then you could put walls, you could put a wall here or something. And then if he wants to get through, he needs to reclaim the wall or, you know, force attack the wall, and it'll take time, and you can see it coming and react a lot faster. And then this run by would be a lot more challenging. But yeah, the same thing could be applied down here, although you might want to build the wall here or something. Obviously none of this is terribly necessary, but yeah, I think just having that point sticking out, you know, in the defense here, because it was like this, I think, and then blue just smashed through here a little bit, and red smashed through here a little bit. So now you got, you know, it's basically you have a soft underbelly that he found, and now he's exploiting that. Oh, this might be rough. With red coming in here. Does he go for you? Oh, he actually decides to go straight for blue. Okay. You do have some units chasing. Okay, it looks like you reroute them to defend the top here. And now this gets a little sticky. The tricky part about this is incisors and pawns and grunts and stuff like that are, you know, they're cheaper and they're faster. And they do rather well with run-by type stuff. While you have medium tanks, which are stronger, but they're also harder to maneuver around. Sometimes their shots miss and things like that, and they're better for holding like a, or whoops, I didn't mean to draw that. They're better for holding like a choke point. They're not as good for holding all this, all this, all that. There's just too much to run around, and with their, since they are more expensive than, you know, than incisors and stuff like that, it's just going to be hard to have enough units to create choke points at all these locations. So on CCR specifically, and I suppose other maps like it, such as the Red Comet one, which is basically just CCR, but it's like this portion of it instead of the full thing or something. It's pretty similar. Or even things like flats and forests. Now, obviously, flats and forests is not usually played outside of 8v8s, but if you do a smaller team on it, it'd be the same kind of thing where there's just a lot of ground to defend, and it's going to be better to have those fast attacking units so that they can maneuver around the defenses to attack locations, which is basically what red and yellow are doing. And then blue, that's not great, but it seems like blue kind of did the same thing where he has heavier tanks, and you know, red and yellow have you know, faster units that can run by the defenses, and then they can take out all the mechs that are spread out. And you know, I mean, the other thing is like you could just put up more and more defenses around all these mechs, but that's just like too much money. So it's kind of like run-bys are just super good on a map like this. Oh, that's rough. Bit out of position. Got some more guys coming in. Unfortunately, you know, since you're defending this, you know, and I don't feel like you have too little to defend this, mainly because the medium, you know, the stouts are, you know, the plasma attack can miss quite often, especially against fast units. You know, so you kind of need a lot to defend it. You know, they'll easily defend it one, you know, if they're able to get to the units and hit them, but that also means that your front is totally vulnerable. And unfortunately, that's where the bot lab is. And so I would actually, you know, I'd suggest putting the bot lab like either further back or close this off more so that it's harder for them to do these run-bys, so that you choke it up, so that your bigger, stronger tanks that are slower can deal with it better. Because yeah, this is a bit rough like that. I like this. This is like something that I would do. Just like, oh, you have a mech here, I'm just gonna put in the LLT. Now it's mine. Obviously, it's not really gonna help you, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, with red being able to, you know, he ran back around blue's base and then stuck guys in here. You know, blue's units are just too slow to really do much. And he was also running units into the bottom here, so that sucks too, and he's still doing it. Oof. And then yellow kind of did the same thing with you, where like he pulled you around and you couldn't really defend all of it because your units were slower. So that's really, you know, the main thing is, you know, faster units are good for CCR, and your energy production, you know, it took a little too long for it to catch up, and because of that, your unit count was lower than it could have been. Those are probably the two main things. And then also, yeah, walling off locations to, if you are going to do heavier units. something to consider would be to go for those, those faster, um, faster run by type units. Initially set up your forward position, set up a wall, and then go for medium tanks. Set them up down here, and then you can do a lot with them. Obviously, adapting to what your opponent's doing is important too. But yeah, in this case, I would just say because he has fast, maneuverable units, he's able to run around and just cap you for it. And then yeah, Red's run by also, pulled you away from defending your top, and it got kind of crazy because of that soft underbelly middle area he was able to hold. And in part that holds, he was able to hold there because blue decided to push south, which I think is a mistake. I think he should have contested the middle a bit more and then had units down here to defend it, or set up like a wall somewhere or something. I'd say 1v1s and 2v2s, it's important to try to have towards the middle area, and then the side areas to defend with units / walls / turrets or whatever. I mean, I guess the alternative is you can have your commander in front, have your turrets by your commander, because obviously he has the build power for it, and then run units along the side, and that's basically what yellow did. It's just hard for you to defend it with everything going on. Anyways, I hope this video helps. If you have any feedback on me producing this video, I'm trying to just like put out a raw video so that it gets to you quickly. But yeah, give me any feedback you might see or whatever. I hope this video has helped you in some way. And of course, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to ping me or another mentor or whatever to get clarification. I think that'll do it for this video, because this is pretty much over. Anyways, I'll see you around.